As a Gloucester County Commissioner, I froze spending. The state needs to take a similar approach.
Absolutely. And as someone who has led a nonprofit for 20 years now and had to meet budget after budget after budget, we understand it. We have a realistic understanding of budgets and how to maintain proper spending against expense.
I'm Assemblywoman Heather Simmons, and we're back with another episode of State House Minute with John Burzichelli, our senator, and Assemblyman Dave Bailey. And today, all three of us are going to chat a little bit about the budget process, which kicked off with the governor's budget address about a week ago. He started out the year calling for fiscal restraint and yet announced a budget raising spending by $2 billion and closing the gap with proposed taxes on everyday items. John and Dave, what are your thoughts?
Well, I have lived through a number of these, and you're getting a sense of it. And I always remind people that the budget is a document of estimates. You don't raise all the money on day one. You don't spend all the money. And now, after the governor gives his speech, the budget moves to the legislature. It's ours now. So all of us, both of you, all of us in the Senate, will be lending a voice to what we think is important. And a very clear message from the three of us is we're not favorable to new taxes.
That's right. I think Heather and I both kind of hit the ground running last year. I think one of the interesting things about being elected to the legislature is you immediately go right into budget season.
Yep.
And so you learn a lot in a hurry.
Correct.
That was a learning curve.
Yeah, so we were very thankful to have the leadership of Senator Burzichelli to kind of bring us along. But as John just said, the governor has spoken, and now it's our turn, and especially our turn for our district. And I know Heather and I have strong feelings about how we want to continue to lead and what our focus is for the 3rd Legislative District.
So I've taken a hard line on the proposal with the introduction of my Freeze Spending Act. As a Gloucester County Commissioner for 3 years in a row, I froze spending and used excess revenues for debt defeasance to reduce debt. I've drafted a bill that calls for a similar line for the state under the idea that, you know, in our personal lives, we're expected to balance the budget. Nobody's going to turn to us and say, oh, you can pay me next month and not this month. And I feel very strongly that the state needs to take a similar approach.
Absolutely. And as someone who has led a nonprofit for 20 years now and had to meet budget after budget after budget many times, and one of the reasons that I wanted to get involved with being in the state legislature was the unwritten, unfunded mandates that would come along to our organizations. So we understand it. We have a realistic understanding of budgets and how to maintain proper spending against expense. John?
Well, and also, you know, as this unfolds, you will be hearing more about it. The budget does a lot of spectacular things in funding public education, keeping Anchor in place, programs for seniors. But we're standing on a trapdoor, because if the federal government pulls the trapdoor, which we believe they're going to, all these numbers are going to go out the window. It's all going to change, because we get from the federal government about $18 billion comes back to New Jersey that goes to various things, particularly Medicaid and similar programs. And there's rumors that some of that's going to be cut. They haven't said how much yet, and we don't know how much, but we're not going to be able to make a lot of that up. So there's still a lot of uncertainty. This budget does a lot of important things, and they're going to be at risk depending what the federal government does. And right now, it's very unsteady.
So we're at the beginning of a budget process. It's a long process. And gentlemen, we'll be working with our colleagues in the legislature to make sure that it's one that best represents the people of New Jersey and the people of the 3rd Legislative District. This has been another episode of State House Minute. Join us again next time.